What's going on, guys? Today we're here for a special NIL interview with my roommate, none other than SwampChomp on Instagram, Gators Insider, an independent media page. So thank you for joining us today. I know you're a busy man. To start, could you share how your thoughts on the introduction of NIL has transformed athletics in relation to the fairness of the playing field of college sports?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. I believe that NIL can be advantageous for bigger schools when looking at a competitive advantage. The schools with more money will now be a hot spot for the top transfers and recruits, leaving smaller schools playing catch up.
Certainly. I think the NIL deals have opened up an incredible opportunity for student athletes to make money, but they've also introduced challenges, like the one you just mentioned, the bigger schools with more funds, leaving the smaller schools in the dust. But what do you think are the biggest concerns when it comes to maintaining fairness in this new landscape?
Yeah, without proper education and guidance, athletes may fall prey to predatory agents, unfair contracts, or unethical endorsement deals that may not have the best interests in mind. Also, athletes in women's sports often face fewer sponsorship opportunities due to disparities in media exposure and fan engagement. Ensuring gender equity in NIL deals remains a challenge.
So, if it remains a challenge, what steps can we do to ensure that the ladies are still being properly compensated for their hard work?
Through donations from the collectives and even other top earning athletes on NIL plans, we can give back to the women's sports or smaller revenue generating sports. Gators quarterback DJ Lagway actually donated $100,000 to UF Women's Sports NIL Fund for International Women's Day. With more standout players spreading the wealth, it's a good start, but it's not enough.
So, for the other issue, what systems or jobs will be in place in the future to prevent predatory agents and non transparent coaches from promising false money?
Other than federal regulations, universities may expand their compliance offices to include specialists focused on NIL related issues. These professionals would ensure that all deals comply with regulations and protect student athletes. Additionally, licensing and certification programs are already in place for agents, requiring them to meet ethical and professional standards before representing student athletes.
I'm glad to know over the last few years they've done a lot more with the regulations to make sure that the athletes are getting their fair share. But beyond regulations, there's the human element, team dynamics, for example. How can coaches and athletic departments foster a sense of unity when some athletes may benefit more from NIL deals than others?
Times are changing, and while it may be hard to manage these changes, coaches can celebrate contributions equally. While some athletes might receive more external attention due to NIL deals, recognizing and celebrating all players' contributions on the field, court, or track can foster a balance between team culture. Coaches should ensure every athlete feels valued by emphasizing their growth and potential, both as players and individuals beyond NIL earnings.
Okay, so looking ahead, what role do you see for alternative solutions like mediation or arbitration in resolving disputes related to NIL contracts?
Honestly, stat tracking, AI tools, and of course, knowledgeable lawyers that can help make sure an athlete is getting paid what they're worth.
That's a good point. I actually do think AI and stat tracking will be a big part because it already is with teams that play Moneyball in different sports or use advanced metrics. It's very popular nowadays when discussing contracts. I think it'll be an especially useful tool when discussing these NIL contracts. And finally, what advice would you give student athletes who are navigating this new NIL landscape to ensure that they make most of their opportunities while staying grounded?
I would say keep going. This isn't the finish line, just a head start on your personal brand, which will remain long after football.
Well said, well said. Well, thank you for spending time with me today. I know you're a very busy man. Swamp Chomp, also known as my roommate Westin. It's been a good time having you on the show, and I hope everyone out there learned a little bit more today about NIL and the future of the sport and where we're headed. So, thank you once again.
Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure.